ahead and have a seat, gentlemen. To our candidate forum for our state representative and also for our district judge. I'm not going to say much, but I do want to thank some folks, and mainly our we have some sponsors who help put these things on. Our gold sponsor this evening is OG&E, see up on the screen. And also our silver sponsor is Legacy Heights. Both of them, you see those company logos everywhere. They're a big supporter of all things in our community, not just Buren, but all over our state and this part of the country. So we appreciate them. I also want to thank Bill Ratcliffe. I think Bill's back there on the soundboard. He's the executive director of the Arts on Main, which is next door, which is a diamond that we have here in our community. And he's also the executive director or the manager for the King Opera House, which is also a blessing that we have here. So we appreciate you, Bill, for allowing us to do this, and your staff for accommodating us. Also, the chiefs of police, we kind of put this together along with the, I say we put together, the Chamber of Commerce put together. We just kind of went along with them, but the chiefs of police of Crawford County are most of them are here, but they all had a part in putting this together. And lastly, the Chamber of Commerce, Julie Murray and her team, they're the ones that make all these cool banners and signs and make this really a professionally run event. So we appreciate Julie and all of her team. Lastly, we couldn't do this without Karen Pharis. Karen Pharis, we may not have ever seen her, but I'm sure you've heard her voice. She is co-owner of Pharis Broadcasting, part of the Fort Smith Radio Group. I guess you are the Fort Smith Radio Group. But not only that, but she does lots of things for our community, volunteers her time, just like she does right now, and does that not only through her citizenship, but also through her company. So Karen, we appreciate you. And with that, we're going to get busy. We're going to start off with state representative candidates, Ty Bates and Ryan Intchauspe. How about that, huh? They're going to go first, and we're just going to ask some questions. Karen will go over the rules, kind of the guidelines, and we'll get busy. So thank you all again for coming.
Thank you, Chief. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. We want to welcome you to this forum. It is a forum. It is not a debate. We basically want to find out what the representative candidates represent, what their hopes and goals are for that position. A couple of the rules, we're asking that the gentlemen on stage be the only ones that can be heard tonight. We would rather there not be applause or exclamations from the audience while the forum is underway. If you would like to video this, you may certainly do that, but please do not walk around the auditorium. I will answer one question for both to answer. We'll start with candidate Bates, then Intchauspe, and then for the second question, I will start with Intchauspe, and then we'll go back and forth, so you'll each have an opportunity to answer the question first. You're asked to keep your answers to 1 minute in length, and Chief Hammond will be keeping time. Let's see, what else? You'll also be given an opportunity for a closing statement. And again, this is a forum. We are asking candidates to not verbally attack one another. And if you do smack talk, there will be consequences. The other guy will have an opportunity to respond and have 30 seconds to do so, and you will be called to order. So we don't want any of that. All right, so let's get on with the questions for our candidates, and we'll note that I'm not sure who came up with the questions. I guess the chamber did for the judges, the law enforcement officers, and the courthouse came up with those questions. All right. Question 1, candidate Bates. Please tell us a little about yourself, where you were raised, where do you live now, your family, your work or business experiences, your involvement in community affairs. Whatever you would like to tell us about yourself, and your time will start now.
Okay. My name is Ty Bates. I'm married to the lovely Pamela Hosier Bates from Cedarville. We live on a small cattle farm. We have a cow-calf operation. there. We have 7 children, 7 grandchildren, and just recently our first great-grandchild. I did 22 years on a rural fire department there. I also work in rural water, health department compliance, making sure that we have safe drinking water, that kind of thing. I'm also a multi-level accredited firearms instructor with the state and several other agencies. It's kind of where we are right now. We've worked with a lot of at-risk people over the years.
All right, Candidate Intchauspe.
Testing. Okay. My name is Ryan Intchauspe. I'm married to Bob Gail Intchauspe, right there. We're recently implants to Arkansas. I retired from 24 years, served in the U.S. Navy. Started out as combat search and rescue. Spent the last 16 years as nuclear command and control as a flight engineer. We have 4 children. We have 5 dogs. We live out in the country up in Rudy. We love our off-the-grid type lifestyle and our homesteader type environment. I too am an avid firearms person. I've always been, not just since the Navy, but always my family. I've always grown up in rural communities. I've never lived in a city larger than 40,000 people until the Navy forced me to move to San Diego. And I should have brought a passport because that's a different country altogether. I chose Arkansas because I wanted the small town feel. I wanted to raise my family in this type of environment with these types of values, small town, rural America. And so we had our choice of anywhere to live in the country, and Arkansas was just the no-brainer. Plus, I couldn't talk my wife into Maine. That was definitely not an option. But we're grateful for Arkansas and the less snow than we would have had in Maine. Thank you.
All right, I would like to mention there is another candidate who is not here tonight. Brad Hall is ill and was unable to be with us tonight. All right, Candidate Intchauspe, we will have your answer the second question first. Please give us your answer within 1 minute. Why are you running for state representative? What draws you to want the job?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I was happy to come to Arkansas and just retire. After 24 years in the military, I had picked out our little place and we'd feathered our little nest. We were very happy. But recently, I've started to notice, after a career in the military, traveling all over the country, all over the world, especially the countries that have enacted laws where their citizens are no longer allowed to be free because of one person's opinion on how another person should live their lives. I didn't like that. And I was sent there specifically for those reasons, to help people become free. After 24 years in the military, I stopped serving, I come here, and it's not just here, but everywhere. I see people's freedoms and liberties being taken away. In New York, you can't buy a 32-ounce soda. In California, you can't even own a gun. In Arkansas, you no longer have autonomy over your own body. That's why I'm running.
All right, thank you. Candidate Bates, why are you seeking State Representative District 24 seat?
Most of this is God put me in a unique position in my life where I had an opportunity to retire and just chose not to. I'd worked with the incumbent who has endorsed the position, had asked me to do this. I'd worked with her in the legislature in the past on some other minor stuff, kind of had a feel for it, and it gives me an opportunity to be one-on-one with people, to be a voice for the people in my community. I've enjoyed the last 6 months. We've been at every little thing. I've made a ton of friends, and this is what it's about. It's about me being a voice for the community. It's not about my will, it's about the will of the community. And I've just been put in a unique place to do that.
All right, you can stay standing because you'll get this next question. What does a state representative do?
Most of what a state representative does is split up into committees, and you end up on a committee, and predominantly it's funding for just about everything, education, highways, all this. is allotments of your tax dollars, which is important to us, is where our tax dollars go. They promulgate rules and laws that direct how the state operates. It doesn't get involved in city politics, county politics, or federal politics. It's just the state. Those committees deal with things like safe housing for the elderly, who needs to have occupational licensing. Those are the kind of things that the state representation does.
Candidate Intchauspe.
I agree with Mr. Bates. He is absolutely correct in what a state representative does, and that we're both looking for the same job. Unfortunately, that's not what a state representative does all the time. What happens is a state representative is forced to be on the phone, begging for money, trying to get people to just fund this and fund that, making promises that they maybe don't have any intent to follow. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not here because I need more friends or because I want to be a person that controls other people's lives. My goal is to be here and to tell these people that have already been elected that it's not their will that they're supposed to be carrying out. They're supposed to be listening to the Constitution, reading the rule of law. They're supposed to be giving freedom to their constituents, not taking it away. We have more laws in this country than any other country in the world. Your average American citizen, according to, is that 10 seconds or is it done? Done. Okay, sorry.
That's fine, but you get to answer, you get to go first on this next question. What personal qualities and what life and work experience do you have that you believe qualify you to be a state representative?
Personal qualities. Well, I'd like to say that I'm the most patient person in the world and that I'm the best listener and all of those things. But the fact of the matter is I have honor, courage, and commitment. I'm willing to do the right things even in the face of people that don't want me to do the right things. I'm willing to disagree with my own party. I'm willing to go against what other people say. I'm willing to do what's right for my constituents. Because what makes sense in Little Rock doesn't necessarily make sense in Rudy. You know, we're a rural community. We don't need police officers on every corner like they do in Little Rock or in other communities or in Portland, Oregon for that matter. What we need is community involvement with our neighbors and each other. We need to have a voice where people can come to their local representatives and say, I want X, Y, Z. This is the will of the people. And those representatives to know that's legal, that's not in keeping with the Constitution. This is something that we can do. This is something we cannot do. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bates.
Qualifications. 22 years in a rural fire department. It was difficult. I retired last year. You get to know your neighbors around you, so you're well aware of what they deal with. As a business owner, I have a cattle farm and I have a firearms business. I know how difficult it is to start a business and make it profitable. So I'd like to work in the areas that promote entrepreneurial spirit. And that's most of what Crawford County is extremely rural. Like you said, what's good in Little Rock's not necessarily good right here in Crawford County. So I've been here my whole life, more or less, since I was 12 years old. I live on the same farm that I grew up on. I want to be a participant in my community, and that's what qualifies me. And I love sitting and talking to people face to face. There's people in this room that have met me. The best thing I can do is have a job where I can sit down with you and understand your concerns and take them to Little Rock.
All right, thank you. Now, you go first.
Oh,
okay?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing the same thing.
All right. What would be your priorities as a state representative if elected, and what are some of the things you would like to achieve?
Some of the priorities I'd like to achieve, we've worked with at-risk women and trafficked children cases. My wife and I have done this for quite a while, and so I've seen the terrors of domestic violence, and I am very familiar with what the trafficking of children looks like. Not something that people want to really look at, and those are some of my bigger goals. And then, of course, obviously, I want to promote small business. I'm a big advocate of the individual who jumps out on their own to be in their own business. It takes a lot to make that step. And those are kind of two completely different things that I'm after, but those are the things I'm going to promote, is being able to take that step into a business and then protecting the people that don't have protections, the innocent people in our community.
Thank you. Ryan?
So obviously great priorities. Trafficked children is a huge problem, not only in this country, but in the world. And we're right next door to the state with the most trafficked children in the country, Oklahoma, believe it or not. And we're right next door to it. So that means that we have this all over the place. Other priorities. Like you mentioned, 22 years as a volunteer firefighter. Thank you very much for your service. Because the fact of the matter is 70% of Arkansas's firefighters are unpaid, strictly volunteer. That's not something we're going to be able to do away with entirely in a rural community. But we can do things to help these people. That we have a budget surplus that we could be providing to volunteer firefighters so that these firefighters that are putting out houses can afford to buy houses for themselves. Also, police officers. I looked at the job listing for a police officer. There's no way an entry-level police officer should be making less than $40,000 a year, considering the fact that we're expecting them to do everything perfectly, from take a kitten out of a tree to breaking up a bar fight or walking into a domestic violence situation.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Bates, how will you stay in touch with constituents of your district to assure that you are representing the interests of businesses and residents if elected?
This is the best part of this job, and it's something we've been doing for the last 6 months. Literally spend all my weekends this last 6 months at the senior center, at businesses, during the week. We just sit down and have coffee. The Copper Kettle's gotten to know us really well as Airedale Cafe. Those are places that I'm constantly at because it's sitting down and having a conversation. Had some great conversations about taxation of retirement funds this weekend at the Airedale Cafe with a group of people. It's face-to-face. That's what it's about. It's about being available. And that's the great part of this job is you have the ability to be available all over your district all the time. So that's kind of how that's going to be. I'm going to be there. The phone number that's on the brochures of mine is my personal cell phone number. I don't have a campaign phone number. You call that number, you're going to get me. I'm going to answer the phone. I'm going to call you back within an hour. That's just the way I'm going to work that.
Start.
Yes.
I do have my personal cell phone number on my campaign flyers. I didn't bring any in here because the printer doesn't like my last name. So it's just unfortunate thing that I have to deal with, and but regardless, I also want to set up a podcast type environment so that once a week I can be on a thing so that everybody can call in. I can answer calls on camera, on video, in a podcast room. But I spend my time in the community. We come to downtown Van Buren all the time. Drop the kid off at the Box Arcade, do our little trip up and down and everything like that. I also, want to meet people, and I've been enjoying having those beers sitting in the vault, or listening to what people have got to say, or the frequent visits of the fire department to my father-in-law who's got mobility problems, and talking to them and their concerns. I talk to people every time I go out and every time I go out and see people. I ask them what their concerns are and what I can do for them. And I ask them what they want and expect from me.
All right, thank you very much. And this is the last question, prepared questions from the chamber for, who's that? You up again? Okay.
I lost track too.
I know, I'm sorry, there's only two of you. Okay, is there anything that you would like to say that we have not covered? And this can be your wrap up. We've got one question from the audience.
Sure. Well, like I said, I spent 24 years in the U.S. Navy. I'm very proud of my Navy service. But on top of that, I carried a copy of the U.S. Constitution in the flight suit pocket of my flight suit, right, in my leg pocket. I did that because I was surprised at how many other service members have never read the document that they swore to uphold and defend. How many other ones have no idea what's going on and what is a constitutional law and what is not a constitutional law. One of my big things here is for education is to bring back civics in the classroom, to teach people about their country, their government, and their community. This is important. An educated, intelligent citizenry will have an educated, intelligent country and government.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bates.
They kind of made this easy because, we need to change the way education works. They need to understand how government works. I talked to a couple of 6th grade classes up in Taneytown. I'm surprised, even at that level, how much they don't understand about their government. But that being said, I'd like to develop commerce here. I think geographically we're set in a fantastic place here. We just got $15 million for a slackwater port right down the river right here that's going to enhance transportation around here. We got an interstate project going right through the middle of the district that is going to get jobs. It's going to promote all that. We're heading to a conference in May just to look at outdoor businesses because we'd like to promote tourism along with trucking. This district is really fascinating. It's beautiful. We live in a postcard. And those are the kind of things I like to promote. That's where we're going with that.
All right, now if you'll remain standing, I'll give you the first shot at this one question, and then after you both answer it, we'll let you do a minute's worth of your final goodbyes. Until next time, anyway. All right, the question that we have from the audience, with an expectation that each of you will represent your party's platform, what issue or plan do you want to advance that is not part of your own party's platform?
It's not part of... I really am passionate about working with people at risk, and it's something that's not, that I'm aware of, it's not a big plank of either platform, to be perfectly honest. The elderly is a big deal. We've talked with several people on protections for the elderly. There's a lot of things in party politics that are just rote, and there's so much more to that is broken down, but there needs to be personal protections for people at risk. I'm this huge advocate for people that are at risk, and that's a broad spectrum. It's not just what people typically think. I'm a big advocate for helping unwed mothers. I know that Hannah House failed. We were a big supporter of Hannah House for a long time, and those are kind of things that get left behind in politics because we don't know how to deal with them.
Okay. Candidate Intchauspe, what would you want to advance that is not part of your own party's platform?
I almost don't know where to begin with this one. You know, I'm reminded of people protesting around the country and stuff like that, being opened up, fired upon, you know what I mean? Because they were presumed to be unarmed, and they should have been armed to protect themselves. You know what I mean? I'm tired of people restricting gun rights and gun access to people that are law-abiding citizens. But that's not my only issue that I have. I think that my party particularly has forgotten about the rural working middle class, the working class people in rural America. They've set aside everybody for inner cities and everything like that so that these people can have whatever they need in order to succeed in those inner cities, but they've forgotten about rural America entirely. Nobody's out here, you know, I didn't see Biden, Trump, anybody coming over here. You know what I mean? We got a low-level guy to show up and put his name on the ballot, you know, in both cases. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And there may be some of you who filled out questions for our candidates, but the Chamber's Governmental Affairs Committee reviewed all of the questions and then came up with this one. I don't know if there were more than this or not, but there you have it. And then Candidate Intchauspe, if you would give us your closing remarks, please, sir.
Well, I kind of thought that was what we were doing the first time, so unfortunately that's quite all right. So, you know, like I said, I've been serving this country my entire adult life. You know, I was born to teenage parents in Greensburg, Kansas, who, through income instability and a series of bad decisions, became complete drug addicts. By the time I was 12, my dad was in prison, my mom was in rehab, and I was raising 2 younger siblings. You know what I mean? My younger brother is 10 years younger than me. He was 2 when I took over as his parent, and he to this day still thinks of me as an adult. I don't want to see people, or as his father, I don't want to see people going through that when we don't have to let them. People need a hand up, not a hand out. People need a way out of a situation, and government can provide that in some limited cases. You know what I mean? It's not about giving everybody free stuff and just plugging in the money tree, but it's about helping Americans become Americans so that they can become better Americans.
First, I'd like to say thank you to the Chamber. Thank you for having us here. Thank you to you, Ryan, too. In closing, there's a passion that goes with this, and I didn't know that it was in me until the last few years. Passionate about this job, about doing this, about being a participant in my community, about being put in a position where I can be a voice for the others. I think this is all about service. It's not about, it's this interesting thing about leadership and service is that I want to serve the people around me. I want to help you with that. Not just like you said, it's not about a hand up. Sometimes it's about keeping the government's hands out of your pocket. I could be that stands in the way of that. Those are the things that I'm looking to do in this job. That's pretty much my closing argument. I'm like you, I thought we did our closing arguments twice. But again, that's all fine. And I really appreciate you guys coming out tonight. It means a lot to every candidate that gets to see people actually show up and listen. Because if you don't pay attention to what's going on around you, you're not going to have any control over it. So thank you for being here.
Well, we thank you both very much. We are reminded that you are giving time away from your family, time to study all the issues, time to visit with people, and anybody that runs for office deserves a round of applause. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks again, and as they on their way back to their seats, I'll welcome the candidates for judges to come on up. And while we're making the transition, I want to remind you all to, if you didn't get a little ballot, we're going to take a little exit poll as you leave. So mark on there who you would vote for each respective office, and also we're having this done. The professional videographer is here tonight recording this for us, and this will be available on the Chamber's website tomorrow, in addition to the Van Buren Police Facebook site. If you have Facebook, you can look at it there, you can watch it there, share all you want, but share it with your friends, let everybody know that who weren't able to come tonight. So with that, we'll turn it over to the candidates for judges.
All right. We have 3 candidates. Rinda Baker, raise your hand, okay. Arron Edwards, and then Lena Pinkerton. And I am going to write this down so I get we're going to do the same thing of, Rinda will get the first question, and then Arron the second, then Lena, and then back and forth. So everyone gets an opportunity to answer a question first. All right. First question, what is your top priority as a judge?
Okay, as a judge, my top priority is going to be to try to bring a domestic violence specialty court to Crawford County. One thing that I don't think a lot of people know about is that Arkansas is actually the 5th highest state in incidence of rape and number 10 for domestic violence. That's out of all of our states in the United States. What we're doing right now is not working. I think if we bring in a domestic violence specialty court, I think that can be very helpful. You can get into those families. You can try to work with those that are affected by the trauma, the children. I believe it's up to 78% of kids that are abused will then act out on another and offend on someone else. We've got to stop that cycle of violence, and the best way that I think we can do that is by working in our district court and bringing in a domestic violence specialty program.
All right, thank you. Arron, what do you think of the top priority as judge?
Like Brenda said, we have a lot of issues with domestic violence. There are other ways, I think, without bringing in a domestic violence specialty court. There are other sentencing alternatives and things that you can use to reach those people, to make sure that they have resources. We have the Adult Education Center, who is here. Thank you guys. And they have so many resources available to our people, and we utilize that a lot now. I would definitely want to continue utilizing that. Our DWI court, I've worked a lot in drug court and mental health court, and I would like to kind of rework the DWI court and get that going again. I think that there are a lot of ways that we could help our community through that court. I think that's...
Okay. Lena? And am I saying your name right, Lena? Okay.
My goal in district court would be to streamline processes. There are an enormous amount of dockets that run through district court on a weekly basis. I think I counted at one point that there were 16 days a month in which Judge Baker is in court right now. Sometimes they're full dockets, 200 to 300 cases a week that he has to hear in some capacity. I think to streamline the process, training for the clerks to make sure that they understand the appropriate answers for citizens would be my first priority, and then also to continue the DWI court, which I helped found in 2013. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the second question, we'll start with Arron first. Arron, what do you think is an area the district court could improve, and what steps would you take to make those improvements?
So what I've been hearing from talking to folks since I started this campaign, I know our local agencies are suffering. I've seen on the residents forums, some of the citizens of our smaller agencies are not happy. They feel like they're not, like crime is running high in their little small communities. From talking to some of the law enforcement agencies, the jail fees are outrageous, and that's nothing, I mean, it just is what it is. I would want to come up with some sort of process where the small towns can write their citations, maybe not arrest every misdemeanor, but write their citations so that the crime is being handled. Make sure that the dockets are streamlined so that folks who are sitting in jail get on the docket sooner. I know we handle quite a few cases through the public defender's office. There's so many more who are pro se.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Like I said earlier, streamline the process, utilize the courtroom at the jail. I believe if you have a jail docket in which you hear defendants that are in jail, it will reduce the amount of jail fees, the jail bills for the small towns. I'm not afraid of work. If you ask anybody, I was in court 2 to 3 days a week. The only time I missed was when I was on maternity leave. I didn't ask people to cover for me. I have a strong work ethic, and I'm ready to be the next district court judge.
All right, thank you. I am not sure that we're asking anybody to give us your background. So I'm going to break off of this and say, tell us about yourself, where you work, and a little bit about your family, and so on.
Do you want me to answer the other question first?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. No, it's fine.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, please.
I want to commend Judge Baker for what he's done with our district court. Many of you may not know, I think Ms. Edwards touched on it, but he has instituted many alternative sentencing options in district court, and I think those can be increased. For those of you that don't know, we have the #1 alternative sentencing court in the state, and we have the 9th rated alternative sentencing court in the nation. That is all due to Judge Baker and what he has implemented. He and Debbie Faubus-Kendrick, who is in charge of Crawford County Adult Education, have put together a wonderful program on that, but I think we can push it a little further. When I mentioned a domestic violence specialty court, I want to incorporate that into the domestic violence specialty court so that we can do more with our alternative sentencing to try to break these familial cycles for everyone in the county. And I think that's something that that we can do in district court and make a change in our county and in our community.
So to keep me on point, go ahead and, yeah, thanks.
I think it's my turn. All right, my name is Lena Pinkerton. I'm a deputy prosecutor here in Crawford County. And for 12 years, I was the full-time dedicated prosecutor for the city of Van Buren, the city of Kibler, as well as Crawford County. I am married. I have 5 children, and we live just outside of Van Buren. My kids are aged 19 to 3. They all have or do attend Van Buren schools. They're very involved and keep me very busy. Thank you.
I'm Arron Edwards. I'm currently the managing public defender here in Crawford County. I'm born and raised here in Van Buren. My family has served the community. Bill Brill was a sheriff. I'm sure some of you know is my grandpa. My grandmother Bernice Glass taught piano lessons here. A lot of people in this room probably even. I have 2 kids that I've raised in this community. My son is the battalion commander of the ROTC program. My other son is not here tonight because he's wrestling. I happen to miss that, hate that. But they both have been very involved in the community. I had the opportunity to go elsewhere in the state, and I chose to come back here because I was born here and I'm committed to being here, and I'm enjoying seeing my kids being raised here.
I am not originally from Crawford County. I was actually born on a military base in San Antonio, Sam Houston Military Base in Brooks Medical Center. My dad was involved in the military. His father was also in the military, worked at Chaffee and handed out ammunitions to the soldiers. He grew up in Franklin County. My mother grew up in northeast Arkansas, but my husband and I like to say that we got to Crawford County as quickly as we could. I have been an attorney here in Crawford County for 26 years. For most of that time, I've had a private practice. I've represented children who have been in foster care, represented them in court. I've also represented children who have been involved in custody situations between their parents. I've also been a prosecutor in Mountainburg, Mulberry, and Alma for 17 years or so, and 4 years ago I was elected as your Crawford County prosecutor and served my 2-year term there. I'm running for district judge because I think I can make a change.
All right, thank you. I think this gives us all a little idea of where you all are coming from. All right, let's get back on task. And again, these questions are submitted by the county law enforcement and people in the courthouse, in the court system. All right, our next question we'll have Arron start first. What would you identify as the biggest problem that citizens of Crawford County face as they relate to our judicial system?
I think as general citizens, I think that the citizens just don't know what the court system even means. I don't think that they understand. Generally, hopefully you don't have to have contact with the court system. I think probably the biggest problem with our citizens is that they don't, other than not understanding it, maybe don't know how to utilize the court system. In district court, there's small claims and civil claims, and you know, if you're just an average citizen, that's scary. You know, you need some kind of action done. You don't know how to do that, how to go about it. Just getting a simple traffic ticket going, you know, everybody in Crawford County is afraid of Judge Baker. He's not really that scary if you just go in there and mind your P's and Q's. But I think those are probably the general concerns.
All right. Lena?
I believe the biggest concern in district court at least would be the inability to pay the fines and court costs. I believe that with alternative sentencing, there may be other availability for community service or classes through the adult education that could help citizens be still held accountable for the wrongs that they did to our community, but actually serve them better. Thank you.
Linda?
One of the biggest problems, I think, would be knowing which court they're to access at any given point in time. In Crawford County, you have 3 circuit courts, you have 1 district court, but in that 1 district court, you have Crawford County, you have Van Buren, you have Mulberry, you have Alma, you have Mountain Burr is going to Mulberry, I believe, for their court, and we'll be going there, and Dyer also. And so knowing where you're supposed to be at any given time would be a concern and an issue regarding district court. Another thing that I think is a problem is, where do people make payments if they're going to make fine payments? Restitution payments for district court, you have to go to the prosecutor's office, but you have to talk to the misdemeanor representatives at the prosecutor's office. If you have a circuit court fine, then you go to the prosecutor. You also pay restitution for circuit court to the prosecutor. Regular fines for district court, you go back up to district court. There are too many places for people to go, and they don't understand where they're supposed to be. And I think if we have a central payment registry where they can make all those payments at one place, that would be very helpful.
All right, thank you. All right, Lena, you kick off this next question. What can be done to reduce the rate of recidivism for those who have been incarcerated for DWI or possession of drugs in Crawford County?
I believe that multiple offenders of DWI they'd be eligible for the Crawford County DWI court, which is a more intensive program. You're able to be sentenced up to 16 months of that intensive supervision with community partners for therapeutic treatment, as well as the adult education that can provide life skills and different programs. You're still held accountable. Any DWI, you have to serve your jail time. You have to do fines and court costs, but this provides life skills that would possibly condition them not to drink, and it also gives the time period in which they could remain sober and possibly build the relationships back with their family.
All right, Rinda?
Recidivism for DWI and for drug use, most people look at DWI court or they look at drug court, which is held in our circuit division. Counseling tends to be something that is necessary, but I think it would be wrong for us to assume that just because someone goes through DWI court, they're not going to have any other offenses. And I think within Crawford County, we've seen that doesn't happen. So something does need to be done, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to institute the domestic violence specialty court, because you also have that. And I think once you start looking at the triggers that affect each one of these things, and you start treating those triggers, then you can start making that change, whether it is in regard to DWI, to drug use, to domestic violence, or anything of that nature. Thank you.
All right, so this issue that we're talking about now is the reason that I'm in the job that I'm in. I came back to Crawford County, when I interviewed with my boss who hired me, I told him I wanted to do juvenile court. He thought I was crazy. But you have to start when they're kids, because kids the people that we're seeing as addicts are a product of their environment. And that's circuit court, that's not district court, so that won't be my purview. But what I'm getting at is it's a case-by-case basis. There's not a one-size-fits-all. There's so many things that go into addicts and addiction. There's not a Band-Aid you can put on all of that. And I think as a judge, it's important that you have to remember that what may work for one person is not going to work for everybody. One person may have to spend a week in jail, and that's their wake-up call, and you're never gonna see that person again. Another person, they might have to go to rehab. They might have to go to rehab 20 times before they get it. I don't know, but
All right, thank you. All right, we start the next question with Rinda. How will you determine fine payment amounts?
That is such a tricky question. In district court and in circuit court, you have what's generally said as a standard fine. But one thing that you do also have to look at as a judge, I feel, is that person's ability to pay, which is why our alternative sentencing has been so effective. When you're in a rural community like Crawford County is, a lot of people just don't have fines to pay on those, don't have the money to pay for their fines. And by looking at alternative sentencing, that's something that you can do to address that. Alternative sentencing, community service, any of those other options. And so it's going to be necessary to be able to talk with those defendants and see what that ability is, and to talk with their attorneys, that either it's a public defender or an attorney that they've hired, and look at that.
Thank you. Arron?
so all of the things that Rinda just said. In addition to that, if you set a fine payment at an amount that a defendant can make, there's a cost that is built into that for an admin fee. So every time that a payment is made, the county is generating, or whatever agency is that case is in front of, is generating money that can go back into the court system and into the city or county. And so I think it's important to determine what they can make. And I think that the statute requires that you do that. Fine payments are required by law to be paid upfront unless they can't be, and then they can be paid in installments. You have to look at what they can make, and all of the questions, all of the things that Renda just said is you have to depend on your attorneys. You have to have a conversation with the defendant if they're pro se. You just have to know what they can handle.
Thank you. Lena?
It would be my goal to talk with the mayors of the small towns and Van Buren to talk about the community and their needs. To set the fine payments that would be appropriate for the given charge, whether it be a Class C misdemeanor, which is punishable up to $500, or a Class A misdemeanor, which is up to $2,500. It's also up to the prosecutor as well and the defense attorney to determine a set plea amount. If it's a plea agreement, they bring that forth to the judge, and the judge can either approve it or not approve it. So there's a lot of different things that go into setting a standard payment.
All right, thank you. All right, Arron, you're first up on the next question. How will you help to make sure it is possible for people to break out of the cycle of having a suspended driver's license? And will you require arrest or jail time for driving on a suspended license?
So this is a cycle that all of our clients are in. First of all, if I don't have to suspend a license, I'm probably not going to do that. I think that would be on a case-by-case basis. That I think bringing Kelly Owens in, who has come into the circuit courts, I'm sure she's in district court as well with driver control, to help get folks back on their feet. She's great. I work with her all the time to help figure out what people can pay and how to get holds lifted or all of those things. But I think the responsibility of the judge is to not set them up for failure. As far as jail time, I think the statute requires that. So that I would, I think I would have to abide by the law in that regard. However, as far as how to break them out of the cycle, I think the answer to that is just to not suspend a license unless it's just necessary. The statutory requires it.
All right, Lena?
Which way we're going? Aaron's correct. The statute requires that a person arrested or charged with driving on a suspended license, it's up to 2 days, or it's 2 days in jail, up to 6 months, and up to, I believe it's a $500 fine. I believe we would leave it to the agencies, the law enforcement officers, to determine whether it's appropriate. I mean, as a prosecutor, I'm good with the arrest for driving on a suspended license. I believe it opens up some law enforcement. It opens up a lot of things that law enforcement can do after the arrest. So, as a prosecutor, I'm good with it. But things you could do with to get the license back, I think that is the #1 priority of any judge, would be to see them succeed and get their license back. I know that we used to send people to the adult education because they could run the driver control to see if what it would take to get the license back, the amount of money. We've seen thousands and thousands of dollars in reinstatement fees, classes that need to be taken. It's a hardship for the community. And I would take any method that we could take, letters sent to driver control, anything for forgiveness that we could do if the person's actually taking an effort to make these corrections.
All right, Rinda.
In my experience, people have a suspended driver's license for one of usually 3 reasons. They've received a drug offense, they've pled to a drug offense, they've failed to appear in court, or they've failed to make their fine payments. Those are the 3 primary reasons. Part of the problem that we have in Crawford County is we have some people that may have 1 or 2 offenses for driving on a suspended license, but I've seen as many as 14 offenses in a 2-year period of time. And I'm just gonna say that if you've got 14 offenses for driving on a suspended license within a couple of years, you probably need to spend some time in jail. I mean, I think that's where it's at. There are specific rules that you're supposed to follow as a driver. I don't want somebody out on the street driving, because if they do not have the ability to have a driver's license, most of the time that means they also don't have the ability to have insurance. And so because of that, I don't think that they need to be out on the street and being a harm and an impediment to others.
All right, thank you. All right, next question. Lena has the lead on this one. How important to you is the safety, well-being, and retainment of excellent employees of the Crawford County District Court with whom you will be working closely?
I think the retaining employees in the district court has been difficult over the last several years. Several people have reached out to me in the last couple of months, even asking to come back if I was elected. There's people that understand the court, the filings of the court, the legalese, everything, but they didn't do well in the environment that is at district court for whatever reason. These are good people. I would do anything in my power to get security back at the district court through law enforcement. I mean, sometimes court is a dangerous place. I mean, there are people coming to court that are going to be held accountable for actions, whether it be a violent offense or not.
Thank you, Lena. Rinda?
Our clerks at district court aren't paid enough to do what they do. I'm just going to say it. They have a lot of responsibilities. They deal with a lot of people. Most of those that come in and want to speak with them are not happy that they have to be there. They're not happy that they have to make a fine payment or take some course of action that the judge has instructed that they do. It is tantamount that you keep good people, and that is one thing that I would really strive to do, whether it's talking with the city or with the county about trying to increase pay for those employees, whether it's actually trying to get some security there that's there on a full-time basis for court. There are many options that can be looked at and can be explored, and I would look into each one of those.
All right, thank you. Arron?
So I think it's important that the roles and responsibilities of each person who work in district court are defined, and that each person is clear on what their roles are, and what their boundaries are, and what their responsibilities and duties are supposed to be. I think there could be a lot of confusion about that, which could create some tension and chaos. And so that would be the first thing that I would want to do, is sit down with everybody and figure out what everybody's, what they believe that their responsibilities are and what they believe that their responsibilities should be, and get that hammered out. Anyone who's doing their job and is doing well at their job, I think should have a job. And I think that's where you have to start. And I think that there can't really be any other discussion beyond that until you get that hammered out. I also think that the responsibilities of legal work need to be left to the attorneys and not to the clerks.
All right, thank you, Arron. All right, the next question, Rinda will go first. Rinda, there are times when defendants are incarcerated because they can't make bond and therefore must sit in jail for weeks and many times months at a time before they can see a judge. As judge, what will you do to help alleviate this cycle?
We've just had a change in our bond laws and in our requirements for bond laws, and I think that is something that needs to be looked at in district court. But I can also tell you that when I was prosecuting for Alma, Judge Baker was the judge then, and we went and tried to talk to the county and tried to talk to others about hiring a specific public defender to talk to those that were in jail, to try to get their cases moved up, to try to handle them that way so that we didn't have people languishing in jail past any time that they would be serving had they pled to that sentence or been found guilty. And I think that's something that we probably need to look at again. But tantamount is looking at the new bail laws and addressing those.
Okay, thank you. Arron?
So I think streamlining the court process is huge in this area. Making sure that those who are indigent have representation, making sure that those who waive their rights truly understand what they're doing. We have people call our office all the time who say, I waived my right, I want to change my plea, what do I do? And and then they sit there for a long time, and that just can't happen. And so I don't know exactly what the answer is, but I think making sure that someone is watching those people who are in there on B or C felon or misdemeanors, who are only sentence would only be 30 days or 6 months, that you watch those people and you make sure that they come back to court before that time expires.
All right, Lena?
One of the things that I would like to do would be to utilize the courtroom at the jail. I think if you have weekly or bi-weekly jail dockets in which the defendants can request that they be heard, that you schedule that, especially for small towns. I mean, every day that they are in jail is money coming out of the budgets of Mountainburg, Mulberry, Dyer. It's important to hear these cases, whether it be a Class A misdemeanor or a traffic violation, such as driving on a suspended license.
All right, thank you. Arron, you'll tackle the next question first. What improvements would you implement in the DWI court program?
So I'm not involved in the DWI court program, so I'm not going to stand up here and pretend that I know all the ins and outs of that. I am heavily involved in drug court. I've been involved in restructuring that program, and we have a great drug court program. I serve on the board of the Arkansas Professional AP Drug Court Professional Association. I'm sorry, I have to say it in my head every time. And so I've been very involved, even across the state, in drug court, specialty court, mental health court. And so while I can't say what changes I would make, I do know what a specialty court needs to look like. I know what the national standards are. I know what the state standards are. I know what our Supreme Court expects of us, and I have no doubt that I can go in and implement those policies.
Thank you. Lena?
I was one of the founding members of DWI Court back in 2013 when Judge Peer implemented the DWI Court into Crawford County. And Judge Baker's done a great job continuing that program through his tenure. One of the main issues that we would have would be the lack of home visits and things of that nature, people not following through with going to counseling sessions, attending adult education, it's missed appointments. Transportation is a huge issue when it comes to a participant in a specialty court. If they don't have a driver's license, they have to depend on friends and family to get them to 10 appointments in a week. And if they don't have the person committed to their sobriety, they're going to fail. So we need to implement a form of transportation for these participants.
All right, Rita.
I've been involved in DWI court as a prosecutor when I was the prosecutor for Alma and for Mulberry. One of the things that makes a big difference on someone's success is their own frame of mind and whether they're ready to make a change and whether they're ready to do something differently. That's what needs to happen. When we have people coming into DWI court that their only goal is to stay out of jail, their heart's not in it. They really don't care to make a change. They don't believe that they have an alcohol problem. They're just trying to stay out of jail. And so one of the things you've got to do is make a connection with that defendant to ensure that this is something that they really want to do, that it's just not an avenue to stay out of jail because they're going to end up in jail anyway, whether it's on that offense because they didn't complete the program or it's on the next offense that they have. But one thing we do need to do is we need to get people into DWI court faster. There's too much of a lag time from the time that someone is arrested for DWI court, that someone's arrested for DWI and when they plead into DWI court. That's too long.
All right, thank you. All right, Lena, you get the next question, and it's kind of long. There has been speculation that one of our circuit court judges will not seek re-election for the circuit court bench. If elected district court judge, will you pledge to fulfill your entire term and not seek any other position, including that judge's seat, before finishing your term as district court judge?
Well, I can tell you this. I did not wake up one day last year and say I wanted to be district court judge. I've wanted to be district court judge for about 14 years. And that's why I've been in district court for that long. I put in the time, I have the experience, I've built the relationships with law enforcement, with private attorneys, with the community partners that can only help the district court move forward. So I have no interest whatsoever in being a circuit court judge. District court is where I want to be, and that's where I'll stay.
All right, Rita.
The entire time that I have been looking at this district court position, and it's been for a while, honestly, it's probably been a couple of years, the thing that I have wanted to do is to start that domestic violence specialty program. I've seen in my tenure as a private practitioner, as a prosecutor, I have seen children in families that are traumatized day in and day out. And we can only make a change by changing the system that they're in and changing how things are done. That's not going to be a quick fix. I have no desire to turn around and run for circuit judge. What I want to do is I want to implement this domestic violence specialty program. I want to increase our use of alternative sentencing in district court. That's where I want to be. It's not a step to another job. I have been in this community for 26 years practicing and trying to help the community and others in it. That's what I want to do, and I think that is the best place to do it is in our district court because that's where we can make the most change for the entire community.
All right, very good, thank you. And Arron.
So I can't say that I would absolutely not run for that position. I don't know where my career will lead me. I didn't expect to be standing here in front of you today for sure. unlike Rinda and Lena, this was not in my overall plan, I don't think, to run for district court judge. The opportunity presented itself, and it feels like this is the next best step for me. I feel like I can be useful in the district courtroom, and I feel like this is where I belong. If the opportunity presents itself to run for circuit court judge, I can't say that I wouldn't do that. I can say that this campaign has been rough, and the idea of jumping right back into another one sounds daunting at this particular moment.
All right, thank you. All right, next question, Rinda will take the lead. Rinda, you have all worked with each other in the legal field, the three ladies up here.
Yes.
Describe the working relationships you have had with each other over the years and how you envision your relationship might change as district court judge.
Well, first of all, I think Lena and our last working relationship was, I was Lena's boss, and I thought that that worked very well. I thought we got along well together. I thought we had a plan that we put in place together to achieve. With Miss Edwards, she of course was the public defender as I was the elected prosecutor, and I do think we worked well together on cases, on trying to get to the end result and to do a benefit for the community. As a district judge, you're the person that's in charge. You run that court, and that's what you're supposed to do. You run the court, it's for the benefit of the community. You need to have good working relationships with both that are here and with the other attorneys in the county, and that is something that I don't believe anyone can say that I've had bad working relationships with any attorneys here, or any attorneys in the county or in Fort Smith or anywhere else.
All right, thank you. Arron?
Lena and I work together literally every day right now. We're adversarial in nature, obviously, to both of these ladies up here. Our job is to fight with each other, and I think we have always done that in a professional manner. I don't foresee that changing, no matter which of us takes the bench. We've always been able to work. We understand that what our jobs are. I understand that as prosecutor Rinda, and Lena both, their job is to protect the community and put people in prison. And my job, as the community sees it, is to keep people out of prison. That's not what I do, but that's how the community sees it. We're adversarial in nature. That didn't stop us from making jokes in the courtroom, asking each other how our families were doing and catching up and doing all those kinds of things. I think any one of us would be able to run our courtroom and demand respect, but also have a professional relationship no matter how this race turns out.
Thank you. Lena?
I mean, these ladies are correct. I mean, our profession is adversarial. However, it's our job, and we all understand that that's part of our job. Outside of the courtroom, we do have not really a personal relationship, but a friendly relationship. And I feel that would continue in the district court. I mean, I've heard that being a judge is actually isolating, that you don't get to talk and visit with other private attorneys or public defenders or prosecutors in a private way, because it's seen as you're biased or favorable to one side. So I just feel that we can continue the relationships that we have built over the course of 5 to 10 years and move forward.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Arron, you will go first on this question. If you are elected district court judge, you'll be in charge of management of a staff of about 11 individuals. Describe your management style and experience in the management of an office.
So I am the managing attorney now. I took over the office a year and a half ago. It was pretty crazy when I took it over. It was not cohesive. I won't get into all the drama that was happening, but I think that we have a really great team right now. We have a group of attorneys who work well together. You know, you have problems in the office that you have, but I think that we correct those. I think we get those corrected. I tend to lead by doing. I'm not one to tell you what to do. I'm going to do it and show you how to do it. I think that's important. Obviously, as judge, it's a little bit different. I've learned how to delegate over the years. I've learned how to get those tasks out. But to me, the biggest thing is I've learned the most from people who are not afraid to get their hands dirty, not afraid to do the work, and not afraid to show you how to do the work. I learned by doing, and I think that that's how I would manage that office.
All right, thank you. Lena?
I managed the prosecutor's office for the district court for 12 years. And really, I was the only attorney down there, so I really didn't manage a lot of people. Only the Angie Haney, my coordinator. I mean, she really did a lot of the work. I mean, I really just had to keep her happy. And she would do my dockets and answer the phones and provide the information. But I kept it going. You know, you have to do the work. You have to have a strong work ethic. You have to answer the phone calls. You have to return the calls. You have to do the work. And I led that office by example. There weren't a lot of negative things that came out of district court in the 12 years that I was there. And that's because I led that district court. Thank you.
I have run my own office. Judge Baker and I actually were in practice together. We've had 2 or 3 different attorneys working for us and staff at that time, and I think he would even say that I was the managing partner in that I handled all the books, I handled everything, and I assisted most other attorneys also. As the prosecutor, that is also a very large office, and for 2 years that is an office that I ran, and I think I did a very good job with that. Our closure rate when I was the prosecutor, we closed 104% of our cases the first year and 114% the second year. You don't do that just by sitting back and letting things happen. That second year, half of the staff left because of the election process and the outcome of the elections then. So we were working half staff. And to close that many cases and to manage that many people to get that amount of work done, I think we filed over 1,000 cases in 2022, in addition to closing out the number of cases that we closed. I'm a worker, and that's what I do.
All right, thank you. I'm going to do the couple of questions from the audience now. And Lena, it's your turn. And the question is, district court is more than just criminal law. What civil experience do each of you bring?
Well, I've been a criminal attorney for 15 years. I don't have a vast experience in civil law. I had a couple cases right before I joined the public defender's office in 2009. I've been reading up on civil law in hopes that I do become the next district court judge. I'm a fast learner, and hopefully we can make a difference in that aspect.
I've been licensed since 1997. For all but 3 years of that time, I've been in private practice. When I was the prosecutor for Alma, for Mountainburg, for Mulberry, I also had a private practice. And in that private practice, I did civil work. I didn't do a lot of criminal defense because I was a prosecutor. So I've done divorces, I've done landlord-tenant law, I have handled credit card debts on both sides as a plaintiff's attorney, as a defense attorney. I've done car wrecks, I've done a little bit of everything. I've done some federal court civil cases. So I have spent at least 23 of my 26 years practicing law also doing civil cases.
Thank you. Arron?
I do not have experience in civil law. I find that I feel like I'm a fast learner. I'm not afraid to say I don't know. When you're on the bench, you have the benefit of running the courtroom and the time and deciding when to call recesses. And so if there's something I don't know, I'm not going to guess. I'm not going to just make a ruling on a whim or whatever. There are you can call a friend. There are other judges in the neighboring counties that are very helpful. I interned at the Sebastian County Public Defender's Office. Some of those folks are judges now that I worked for over there. I don't think that I would have any issue calling any one of those folks over there and asking them for help. I know how to find case law quickly. I know how to read statutes, and so I don't think I would have any issue picking up civil law quickly.
All right. That was all three of you, right? Okay. Now, Rinda, this is another audience question. What is your plan, if you are elected district judge, for continuing the alternative sentencing program that was the current judge has implemented with the Adult Education Center?
I've already been in talks with Debbie Faldis-Kendrick, who runs Crawford County Adult Education. She and I have discussed some ways that we can extend the role of adult ed and extend alternative sentencing. I've also been in conversations with Melinda McSpadden, who also assists and helps with some of those things. So my plan, as I said before, is to take what we're doing with alternative sentencing and to extend it, to make it bigger. I think it's one of the best things that Judge Baker has done as district judge, is bringing in the alternative sentencing and changing that cycle. And I think this community has seen a great benefit from it, just in tax dollars that aren't needing to be spent involving those cases.
Gary?
Alternative sentencing as a public defender is one of my favorite things. We don't get to utilize it much in circuit court. I've been trying to bring that with a new prosecutorial administration. I'm able to bring new ideas to the table, I feel like, and offer more solutions. A lot of times I get an offer and I don't like it, and they say, well, what do you think? So then I have to come up with something creative. Adult education, every time I've been able to work it in there, I've worked it in there. Counseling, all of those things. I think alternative sentencing plays a huge role. I know in our drug court program, just seeing our participants when they go to adult ed and they earn that certificate or their GED or get their driver's license back, like those are huge moments that we celebrate in drug court, and I love watching that happen. And so I would absolutely do everything I could to continue utilizing adult ed and expand on that however we can do that.
All right, Lena?
Yes, I would encourage the expansion of alternative sentencing in district court. I mean, these are programs that provide a great benefit for our community. I mean, a person that goes to adult education and gets an OSHA certification or goes to a welding class, I mean, those are huge things for these participants to know that they can now go out in the community and earn a legal wage. I know I was in drug court last week, and I mean, they were so excited about the possibility of going to welding classes or getting that certificate, because they know that they can actually have a legal way to support themselves instead of going back into the community and committing more crimes to earn that money.
All right, thank you. All right, this will be the final question, and if you would summarize wrap it up, your closing arguments for yourselves. All right, regardless of the outcome of the election, and this will be Lena, you'll take this one. Regardless of the outcome of the election, one of you will be elected as the first woman district court judge in Crawford County. Discuss the importance of women in the legal field and having them serve as judges.
I mean, I feel that this is a great moment for Crawford County to see a woman in a role as a judge. It just shows the progressive nature of our community and wanting to put the right person in the job. I feel that experience matters, that it proves throughout that you have to work for something to get something. And each of us up here have been public servants, and we're dedicated to Crawford County. And I believe that it'll be a great thing on January 1, 2025, when a woman is elected to be district court judge.
Sometimes it's hard to count to 3. I don't want to discount the thought of having a female district judge, but we do already have a female judge in Crawford County, and that's Candidates Rinda, and she is doing an amazing job in circuit court. I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters what your gender is on being a judge. I think what it matters is how you treat your defendants, how you run your court, if you're respectful to other people, whether that's the attorneys, the defendants, the officers that come in, the bailiffs that are there. It's how you run that court, and I think that's the most important thing. And I would like that be remembered. I would ask that you all elect whichever one of us judge that you feel is going to run that court the best, that is going to have the respect for each individual that comes into court, regardless of what is said to them. And I think that's very important. When you're a judge, you have to act judiciously. You have to work at a high integrity level and be honorable. And that's what's much more important than what your gender is.
Rinda stole my line. I was going to say that 2025 will mark that we have 2 female sitting judges in Crawford County for the first time ever, which is great. I don't know if it makes a difference what the gender is of the person sitting on the bench. I raised my kids with help from my parents, but alone. So I was a single mom going through law school. Shout out to my parents for helping. But so I feel like I can bring that quality to the to the bench. Like there's raising 2 boys, that's a lot to handle, especially by yourself. So I've learned a lot of patience just as my role as a mom, in addition to all of the other things, all the schooling and all the training and all the things that I've done. At the end of the day, what matters is how you get up there and how you apply yourself, how you treat the defendants, how you treat the attorneys is huge.
All right, well, that wraps up our forum questions for all the candidates from both sides. Let's give a round of applause to our judge candidates. I don't know how nerve-wracking it is doing this. I was running the stupid timer, and I couldn't even get that right. So hats off to all of you who participated in this. I do want to, I can't see him, I don't know if he's back there somewhere, but Judge Baker, you still back there, Judge? You've heard his name a lot mentioned, the programs that he has implemented for our citizens who have come through his court. So I'd like to give you also a round of applause for the things that you've done to help our citizens, so I appreciate the things that you've done, and I look forward to the things that these ladies have talked about continuing to continue to do after you've gone. So thank you all again. Thank you for our candidates. Thank you also for Woodruff Media up here who's taking the videos for us. And again, they'll be on our Facebook page tomorrow and the Chamber's website. Thank you again to Karen Pharis for moderating this, and to anyone else that I forgot, thank you also. And on your way home, stop somewhere and eat in Van Buren and spend some tax dollars on money. Huh? How about that? All right, thank you all again. Hey, don't forget your ballot. Turn your ballot in on your way out. Thank you all.